entertaining talking sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to recap the win. I can't believe the word just came out of my mouth. By the New York Giants, because it felt like forever since the New York Giants had won a football game because, well, it was. And I'm glad that the New York Giants finally got a W as they get to 1-5 on the season. And as crazy as it sounds, if Dallas were to lose Monday Night Football, the Giants would only be a game out. And as crazy as it sounds, if the New York Giants were to win last week, which they easily could have, they'd be in first place if Dallas were to lose on Monday night. So that's insane, and that's more of a to speak about how bad the NFC East is. But for me, it feels good to finally get a win. And there's definitely a lot of negatives to talk about in this contest. But the first thing I want to talk about, the positive, is we got a win. The next thing I want to do is I want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys that support me through my ups and downs with this football team in those streams, that come into those streams, that blow them up. You guys absolutely blew it up on Bad Dog's channel today, and I can't say thank you enough. In addition to that, I will go live tonight because I made the commitment to myself that anytime the New York Giants get a win, I'll go live. I'll recap it the night after. So tonight around 8:30, I'll be live. We'll talk about it for a bit. We'll talk about the New York Giants win against Washington. We'll talk about the schedule going forward, in which we've got Philadelphia just 4 short days from today on the schedule for the New York Giants. But I am relieved that the New York Giants got a win. And when I had a little bit of time within the stream to really think about it and get over, the way that I felt from some of the bad things that happened in the game, I am very happy that we got a win. And I'm hoping that this springboards into something else. I don't know if it will. I can't tell you that. Here's what I'll say. Going into this game, I was encouraged with the way that the New York Giants were playing. And I thought that they were due to get a W. I looked at last week, they could have and probably should have won that game against Dallas. I looked at the week before, we went neck and neck with a team like the Rams in LA, a game in which we had no business in even competing, and we lost games. This game is a game that I look at that the first 25 minutes, 26 minutes of the game, it looked like we were going to absolutely dominate this football team, and that's the way that I thought it should have looked, because I think the New York Giants are a much better football team than Washington. In my heart, I truly believe that. I just think we're a team that right now doesn't know how to win, and we're a team that finds ways to lose football games. And some of that you could definitely put on the quarterback, some of that you could put on the coach. Whatever it is, we're a young team, an inexperienced team that rather than finds ways to win, we find ways to lose. And hopefully being able to win this game, maybe that springboards the New York Giants into getting some experience, and maybe we build off of this. And it's not going to get much easier. We got the Eagles, we got the Bucs, we got the Eagles again, and then we got Washington again. And I'm not going to go crazy about this game, no matter how the game went in terms of if we were going to win. I wasn't going to go crazy. If it was flawless and we won 30-10, I would have said, well, it was Washington. I'm not going to go crazy about it, but I'm still going to be happy that the New York Giants got a win. And if you're a New York Giants fan, in my opinion, soak it in, because we haven't got many of these over the last 3 years. Since I've been on YouTube, the Giants have played a combined 38 games, and they've won, I think, 10. I think they're 10-28, somewhere along there, since I've been on YouTube. Yeah, because they won 5-4 and now 1 so far this year. So soak it in and enjoy it. That's the first thing I'll say, or at least I think that you should. So, yes, were there a lot of sloppy things in this game that I'm going to go over? Absolutely. But be happy that your football team won a football game. The first thing I'm going to say, the one thing that the New York Giants did really well the last 2 weeks that I continued to say was win the time of possession. This week, they didn't do it. They couldn't really, the first half, the offense was playing well. It's just that the defense couldn't get off the field. Washington was continuing to pick up first down. They weren't putting a lot of points on the board, but they were extending drives, and they won the first half like 19-11 in terms of time of possession. And the New York Giants lost, I think, by 6 minutes in this football game. They did come out better in the second half and had a couple of long drives, which kind of got it more back in their favor, but they definitely lost there. In terms of the third down efficiency on offense, which is something that I thought they've been improving on, the New York Giants actually did really well in that aspect. I just want to make sure that I get it right. The New York Giants on third down on offense were 7 of 11, and that's something that I've continued to say they have to get better at, and we're going to get into the negatives, believe me. On defense, though, they continued to struggle in that area. They were 8 for 15 in third down defense, and that does not even include the fourth down conversions, which the Washington was 2 for 2. So if you combine it, they were 10 for 17. And the New York Giants defense has been so bad in those areas that Ron Rivera, when the New York Giants committed a crucial penalty, which we're going to get into in a second, elected to go for it rather than punt. The New York Giants stopped Washington. Washington went to punt it away. They pinned the Giants on their 1-yard line on a 4th and 9. The New York Giants got called for running into the kicker, and it was a very sloppy penalty. which gave the Washington the opportunity to go for it on 4th and 4, and then they converted and then scored a touchdown going into the half. If that does not happen, the New York Giants probably run away with this football game, but that gave Washington momentum, and then the New York Giants created, obviously had the crucial mistake in the second half that we're going to get into in a second. But in terms of the third down conversion rate, that was a positive from the offense. Freeman continues to run hard. The run blocking lanes I thought were pretty good. So there were definitely some positives on the offense, mainly in the first half. The RPO work, Daniel Jones had that huge run, and we ran for over 140 yards, 135 yards rather, a lot of that being Daniel Jones. But regardless, the New York Giants continue to be able to manufacture yards on the ground. It was in the air that we didn't do much, but like I said, we didn't have the ball much in the first half, and I thought it was the right approach for the New York Giants to come out and try to have a run-first game plan, being that you're going up against a team the likes of the Washington football team. Jones, let's talk about the positive before we get into the bad of it. We talked about the run. The run was really good, right? He also threw that beautiful touchdown in the first half to Darius Slayton, which I said on stream, if he does that against anybody, that's a great throw against anybody. No, any defense. He made a beautiful throw, and I was trying to get behind Jones, and I absolutely loved the throw. He stood in the pocket, he took the hit, and he was able to deliver the touchdown to Darius Slayton. The Giants are now banged up at the wide receiver core. Let's also touch on that. Slayton was able to come back and play. C.J. Board, we all hope that he gets healthy. Didn't look good. I'm not sure exactly how, what the medical report is with that, but he had something around his neck. Didn't look good. And the New York Giants are going to have to look to bring somebody else on from the practice squad and maybe even somebody from the outside, because at this point, this wide receiver core is incredibly thin going into that Thursday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And hopefully we get Sterling Shepard back. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but I did want to make note that Darius Slayton also made that catch, but that was more a throw by Jones. That was a great throw. And in the first half, Jones played well. It was in the second half where he really struggled. The defense, like I said, there were spurts. James Bradbury came up with a monster interception, and the defense won us this football game. I mean, the interception by Bradbury was huge. It created points. And then, of course, the fumble, which ultimately, in my opinion, at least saved Dave Gettleman's job for a week, picked up by Tate Crowder, ran into the end zone that was created by Fackrell, were the big momentum-shifting plays in favor of the New York Giants that were the reason that we won this football game. So I want to give the defense credit for that. They were opportunistic, they created turnovers, and it was a big part for why we won this football game. But they also couldn't get off the field on third down. That continues to be a struggle. But at the end of the day, Daniel Jones's crucial interception down the stretch is why Washington even had an opportunity to win this football game. I also wanted to talk about, before I jump into it, the tackle position. Andrew Thomas, and I don't know why, supposedly he did something conduct detrimental to the team that the New York Giants decided to bench him the first quarter of this football game. And that is what it is. And I want to hear why exactly that was. And I'll definitely have a video up on that tomorrow when all the details come out with that. But that's obviously not something that you want to hear from your rookie left tackle that's selected 4th overall that's been struggling to begin with. He didn't start this game. He had Matt Parrott in the starting lineup along with Cam Fleming, and he didn't play the whole first quarter. Then Andrew Thomas came into the football game. And, I didn't notice anything that was horrible. There were a couple of plays where he definitely missed some blocks. One player in particular, I remember he missed a block on, I think it was Montez Sweat, on a run play, and Sweat came in and cleaned up. There were a couple plays, sure, maybe didn't look great, but the Giants only surrendered 1 sack all game. So I'm going to also say that about the offensive line. Was Jones under pressure at times? Yeah, especially in the interception he threw. But I thought the offensive line did a pretty good job. I mean, they ran for 140 yards. They only surrendered 1 sack against the team that had 8 sacks against the Eagles week 1. So I'm going to give them their credit there. I didn't understand the musical chairs, because once you brought Thomas back in, okay, he served his penalty, and then you take him back out. You put Parrott in. I think they flopped 2 more times. I didn't get that. Like, if you're going to bench Thomas because of poor play, well, then you leave Parrott in there. You give Parrott the opportunity. Even though I don't agree with benching Thomas at all, I want him to get as much experience as he can on the left side and continue to grow. But once you brought him back in, I didn't understand the constant substitutions. I talk about it all the time. We need continuity on the offensive line. I was at a loss for words for why Joe Judge was doing that. And I'm trying to be as fair as I can with Judge. I still like Joe Judge, but I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that at all, to be honest with you. So that's one area where I'm kind of like, I didn't know what was going on there. So if I'm going to criticize Judge, I guess with that. But we did win the football game, and I'm happy that Joe Judge got his first victory. And I just hope that Andrew Thomas gets going forward, because we're going to need him if this team is going to get any good, not just this year, but in the future. He is a prime piece for this New York Giants football team. Now let's get to the Jones interception. The first thing I want to say is, earlier on in the game during the stream, I actually praised Daniel Jones for not forcing a ball near the red zone. Daniel Jones was on like the 10 or 15 yard line, and there was pressure. And a lot of people in the chat, Bad Dog included, and everybody has their own opinions, thought that Daniel Jones should have thrown the ball and taken a shot or gotten rid of the ball and not taken the sack. I said, I'm glad that he took the sack. You're at the 15-yard line. You're in field goal range as is. Don't force something that's not there. Put points up on the board, especially against a team like the Washington football team. You know what I'm saying? That is not going to put up a lot of points. They don't have an electric offense. Take the points where you can get them. Go up by 2 possessions. That's what Jones did. It was a smart decision to take the sack. Later on in the game, he was pretty much given the same exact situation. I think it was on first down, though. And Jones, while he was getting hit, I don't know if he was trying to get rid of the ball. But regardless, you don't do this. You just take the sack. He threw the ball into the back of the end zone where nobody was really there, and Washington came up with a crucial interception. And, I personally thought his elbow was out of bounds. And regardless, it doesn't matter. The decision was horrible by Daniel Jones, and it could have easily cost us this football game. Matter of fact, it probably should have. But Jones got bailed out by the defense. But that cannot happen. And I continue to say I want to see Daniel Jones progress. And I'm going to continue to try to back him as much as I possibly can. But these things cannot continue to happen. You cannot continue to make errors like that in the red zone. And I hope that Jones grows, and I hope he gets better. And we got 10 games to go. And I'm still going to back him up because he's a New York Giant. I'm still going to back him up because I realize he's had a lot to overcome. But this game was bad. It was actually probably as disappointed as I've been in Daniel Jones all year, because this is a game we got to win. And this is a game where you shouldn't be forcing passes like that. You're not going against a high-powered offense like the Cowboys. You're not going against a high-powered offense like the Chiefs. I get it that maybe in his head he's like, I only got 3 touchdowns this year. I got to try to make things happen. But you take the points where you can get them against a team like this. And that's not a spot to try to force a ball in the end zone. So that was a horrible decision on Jones' part. I got to call him out for it. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible decision. And he's got to get a lot better at that. Last year, he was great in the red zone. And I've talked about this many times. He was phenomenal in the red zone. He threw 12 touchdowns and 0 picks in the red zone last year, throughout his rookie year in 12 starts. This year, I think he's already thrown 3 picks, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's not thrown a touchdown in the red zone. The touchdown today was outside the red zone, the same to Slayton in the first week. Not sure on the third one. I could be wrong there. Maybe he's thrown 1 red zone touchdown. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's been really bad in the red zone. He's also been bad near his own end zone, and good quarterbacks don't do that. He has to mature, he has to get better, and the clock is ticking. Period, end of story. You can't make excuses for Jones when it comes to that. I could definitely make excuses for Jones with the receivers that he has, with the scheme that he has, with the situation he was put in. But you got to be smarter than that. You can't throw that up, and I hope and expect him not to make mistakes like that going forward. It can't happen. Especially based on the circumstance. So hopefully Jones matures, and hopefully Jones pays back the defense for what they were able to give him this week, which was a win. And to be honest with you, hopefully that gets the media off the back. Now, the fans that are tanked for Trevor people are still going to be doing it. They're still going to be doing it until such time they see Jones play better. But if Jones plays better next week, gets a W, maybe the pressure starts to slowly come off of him. But what I'll say is this. This is a team that, in my opinion, today probably didn't deserve this win. But in my opinion, this is a team that is definitely better than their record indicated coming in. And today, in the first 25, 26 minutes of the game, they displayed that. And then they kind of got away from it. And it was momentum-shifting plays. It's the same thing I say every week. There's always 2 or 3 momentum-shifting plays that don't go in the New York Giants' favor. This week, it was the stupid penalty when they ran into the kicker, and it was the horrible interception by Daniel Jones. Luckily for Jones, luckily for the Giants, and luckily for New York Giants fans, the New York Giants got bailed out and got a win. And then Ron Rivera elected to go for 2 on the goal line, and that's why I'm not giving the defense a pass. If the defense wins the game there and runs it in for a touchdown, and the final score is 20-13, I say to myself, okay. But when the game was on the line after that and they got the ball back, they allowed Washington to go all the way down the field with a backup quarterback and score a touchdown. And if Rivera elects to kick the extra point, it is incredibly possible, with only 36 seconds being on the clock, that the New York Giants will lose that football game. Instead, he elected to go for 2, and the New York Giants did come up with a stand. But at the end of the day, we won a football game. And was it perfect? No. Was it ugly? Yes. It was about as ugly as a win as you could get based on where we stood 25, 26 minutes into the game and the way I felt 55 minutes into that game. But we won. And that's what the game is about. Getting W's. And I got to be a man of my word. On Twitter before the game started, I said, I don't care about stats going into this game. The only thing I care about is a W. And the New York Giants got it. It was a game that Jones absolutely needed, and it's a game he probably didn't deserve, but he got it. And he could thank Tate Crowder, and he could thank that defense, and he could thank James Bradbury. And he played well in the first half. Hopefully we get a full game from Jones against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's all I can say. I'm going to try to remain optimistic and root on my team and hope that these players get better. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that Daniel Jones has played great so far this year. He's got to get better. He's got to get a lot better. But we got to win, and we might be able to get 2 next week in 3 or 4 days against Philadelphia. And if you do that, maybe the fan base starts to ease off the New York Giants and starts to see that maybe they're turning the corner. But we got to start to accumulate some wins, and hopefully this does that. As always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.